Okay. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for your patience. We were trying to get this tech thing, worked out, and so we got it. We do not avoid challenges. Challenges are going to come, but we are here live on Facebook and Zoom, just streaming between the two platforms. And having this raw talk discussion with Dr. Jasmina. So if you do not know me, I just want to say welcome. If you're coming on live through Facebook, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you're going to check out the replay, welcome. Okay, I'm so glad that you guys tuned in to get this great information that Dr. Jasmina Patel is going to share with us today. So let me just introduce myself. My name is Shamika Jones. I am the CEO and founder of Eat Life to Live Life, which is a nutritional and wellness company. I am also a nutrition expert, educator, as well as a secondary ed educator that specializes in special education. Also, I'm a financial expert and I specialize in the area of life insurance and investments. And come 2021, I will be soon to be author releasing my book next year. So I'm so excited about that. Thank you. Yes, Dr. Patel. And so I have the esteemed honor of chatting today with Dr. Jasmina Patel. Now listen, before I even give you her intro, if I knew this woman did all this stuff, I would have asked for more. Do you hear what I'm saying? So she is phenomenal. So I'm going to give her the proper introduction. And if I'm looking down, guys, I'm actually reading her bio, okay? Dr. Dr. Patel, Jasmina Patel, excuse me, has been a certified chiropractic wellness practitioner since 2010. She earned her bachelor's in science degree from Clark University in Massachusetts in molecular biology and was a TA for vertebrate anatomy. Her post-baccalaureate studies continued at Harvard Extension School in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She received her doctorate of chiropractic at Southern California University of Health Sciences and holds postgraduate certification in evidence-based neuromuscular skeletal and lifestyle intervention. Dr. Jasmina served as clinic director in Chicago, Illinois, with one of the largest physicians' wellness groups in the nation. She has devoted time to various non-for-profit organizations before serving as community outreach director and co-founder for a nonprofit in GA, or Georgia, striving to educate as many families as possible through chiropractic care, proper nutrition, and exercise, and was featured on Black on Purpose, BOP TV. Dr. Jasmina received training in Thompson Technique, SOT, applied kinesio taping, chiropractic biophysics, and neural impulse activator. Having completed postgraduate work in strength and conditioning, she has worked with many professional athletes and was spinal health educator for NBC's Healthy Living Expo in 2010 and 2011. Her most coveted title is Dr. Mom to her children as she enjoys the outdoors and communing with nature when she is not leading seminars using the latest research in functional medicine and nutrition to educate others to trust your guts. Awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Sway.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and actually doing this. This is kind of like a birth child for me, and I just so appreciate just all the breadcrumbs that God allowed me to pick up along the way, and you're one of my breadcrumbs. And so I'm sharing the impact that not only that you've had in my life, Dr. Jasmina, but the impact that you're going to continue to have in other people's lives, whoever decides to work with you. And I know that that number is probably astronomical, but I just want to thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I do appreciate you being here. And so having said that, I'm going to open this discussion up, this raw talk with Dr. Jasmina. And the question is, how is your immunity? Okay, we're going to ask your second brain about that, and she's going to expound upon it. But before we actually get into details about that, I know we got this background about Dr. Jasmina, but Dr. Jasmina, just tell us, a little bit about yourself that, couldn't come through in your bio.
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, thank you so much for letting me be part of your journey. I know I'm really elated for everything that you have going on, Ms. Shamika. I really, really am, just to see the transformation within you, all from a choice. And that's what really gets me going more than anything, is anybody who allows me to have the privilege to work with them, it all stems from them making a choice
Mhm.
in trusting a natural process, which sounds really funny, kind of, right? Because we've gotten to a point in our society where we we've kind of strayed away from not going within with our health and our wellness, and we are relying on everything, the external environment, and it's the external environment that is causing a lot of the stressors in our body, right? Whether it's toxins and things that are going on in our lives, and foods that we intake, which we'll get into later.
Mhm.
um, but I think for me the biggest thing is whether I am, exercising the move well part of my philosophy, which is chiropractic,
Yeah.
from the central nervous system standpoint, where people are dealing with different joint issues and wanting to get better movement and sustain better function with their first brain, because your brain and your spinal cord being your first brain, right?
Yeah.
That has to do with your main overall function of every organ, cell, and tissue in your body. And then second, we talk about think well, right? So even with think, a lot of the times people, well, nowadays you see a lot more of an empathy and more of a significance played on the vital role of the mental space as
Mhm.
well. And then eat well. And that's what we're going to be discussing today, the eat well portion, which I call the ENS, the enteric nervous system, which it's considered your second brain, which
Yeah.
is your gut. And it's interesting because it stays in constant communication with your central nervous system, but it doesn't need to be directly um, dependent on it. And so this is the part of my career now that you mentioned to Dr. Mom, that I'm really able to focus and help other patients that may not directly be in right in front of me. And they
Mhm.
don't need to be right in front of me, because if they're willing to make a choice not just to trust me, but trust the process and trust their own body.
Mhm.
And that to me is the ultimate, because in CAM, which is complementary and alternative medicine, as they call it here in the Western world,
Mhm.
it is a different type of requirement with the doctor-patient relationship. The patient has to be willing to meet you halfway in order for the doctor to meet you halfway, and then let your body's innate ability to heal itself, and that process to happen always begins with a choice.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Thank you for just shedding some light on that. And so I think we kind of got a little bit or a gist of, your experience in the industry, but tell us more a little bit about your wellness philosophy, because, people think about chiropractors, and I know you just kind of explained it, but I really want you to
Yeah.
emphasize, oh, those are the people who manipulate my spine, or they crack my neck, or I had an experience and they caused me pain, or whatever the case may be. So just tell us a little bit about your wellness philosophy.
Sure. So those are all great and valid points that we hear often. First of all, I like to clarify, I don't manipulate anyone. I don't crack anyone's bones, because you'll probably sue me if I crack some part of your body. That noise that you hear that people reference is gas being released from the joint space.
Yeah.
So it is not mortifying, whatever people are YouTubing these days. It's nothing like that. So we are providing a high velocity low force adjustment to the spinal vertebrae to relieve pressure on the central nervous system. And as we mentioned earlier, some of those nerves go to different organ cells and tissues in your body. So those areas can function at a higher level. So I use the word function because in the Western world, a lot of health has become, well, I feel this,
Mhm.
right? My sign and my symptom, and it's correlated with a pill or a procedure.
Yeah.
So I joke about it with patients every now and then, like, look, hey, you can take a medication, you can take a Valium, will make you feel good too.
Mhm.
You
All right.
don't have to, but
Yeah.
that's not what I'm recommending. Obviously, if you're coming to see somebody such as myself or other practitioners out there, you are looking for an alternative. Now, so if you as a patient can understand, or we as practitioners can take the time to educate and walk the patient through recognizing your health is not necessarily just how you feel, it's how you function. So when you function at 40% or less, that is when you feel any type of pain. You could be functioning at 50%. And you could say, hey, last week, that wasn't going on. This just happened. It didn't just happen. You think it just happened because you just felt it.
Mm-hmm.
You may have been walking around functioning at 50%, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening to a lot of people is it becomes, I just live with it. It's just part of I'm used to it. I have a high pain tolerance, right? But it's no, how well are you functioning? And so if you are not functioning at optimum, that also trickles down to other areas of your life. Mm-hmm. So the first part is a patient recognizing, health is the most important thing in your life. And I'm not just saying that because I am a practitioner. I'm saying that because it genuinely is. And I think nowadays, obviously, more than ever, it's becoming prevalent for people to recognize, wow, if I don't have my health, I cannot serve my family, or I cannot serve my vocation to their highest potential, or I cannot serve spiritually. Because if you really want to respect what the higher power has given you, how are you taking care of that? So I tell people, you want to take care of your body. It's the place that you're going to live for the rest of your life.
Right.
And so what does taking care of your body mean? And what does that start with? If it's pharmacology, toxicology, and surgery, then by all means, that's your choice. Mm-hmm. But if it's adjustments, nutrition, and therapy, then we're walking down a different path that allows your body to truly recover and get to the root cause of the issue, right? In order for you to function at 100%. And so at some point, I think that paradigm shift has to also occur where people recognize, wow, out of, I believe it's Dr. Barbara Starfield did an amazing research study that many people know about. She used to be at Johns Hopkins, and she's done these long-term studies that have time and time again shown that the U.S. ranks 37 out of 37 industrialized nations in overall health and wellness.
Wow.
So we have some major behavior and lifestyle issues that are taking precedent to the top causes of death in this country. So if cardiovascular disease, you can live good, feel good, and not be on any meds, and first sign or symptom is a heart attack, right? Mm-hmm. And then second being cancer, look good, feel good, and not be on any meds. You don't find out early, you find out later.
Right.
And then the third being properly prescribed prescription pills taken as indicated for an accurate diagnosis, not an overdose, okay? And not a misdiagnosis. And that's the third leading cause of death. And the fourth happens to be medical errors. So once we understand that, you have to recognize, wow, is this the best form of my taking care of my body? Are there other alternatives or least invasive things that are available to me to see how my body responds to that? Because all that other stuff is still going to be there, right? And look, I'm all about emergency care medicine. I think we're number one in emergency, and do what you got to do to save someone's life. But there are a lot of chronic conditions that we are dealing with that even people in developing countries are not.
Yeah.
And that should send some red flags, and especially right now. And we'll get into that in a little bit, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that is why you see people, fall ill so fast, and their bodies cannot handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a perfect segue, because we're going to talk about, given the current, climate across the globe due to the pandemic, how is your program congruent with people and their wellness, or how they should be viewing their wellness at this point? Because I think that we know over the recent years, people have been more health conscious, but just not really knowing what to do. And I think that, it goes beyond just minimizing certain foods or eliminating certain foods and calories and things of that nature. It's also understanding what foods do we need to eat in order to have the maximum impact inside of our bodies. So can you kind of speak to that for us?
Sure. So I think it's interesting you say this, because I mean, your show today is called the raw talk. So let's keep it very real and raw. I think we mentioned, we had discussed before, it's interesting, even when you go to the grocery stores and you see the shopping carts. And so everyone is protected, and you obviously care about your health and others, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then you look at the shopping cart and you're going, well, wait a minute, and it's judgment, no judgment, but judgment,
Yeah.
in the sense of, if we really want to get raw and real about it, do you understand what that is doing to your system right now? Do
Right.
you understand what I saw somebody with a whole bunch of just Dr. Pepper, and I thought, they still make that? I didn't even know they still made that. But because if you see, if you really took, I saw this meme the other day that showed a glass full of just packets and packets of sugar,
Mm-hmm.
and it was equivalent to the amount of sugar that's in like a liter. And it was just kind of like, you wouldn't normally eat these many packets of sugar, then why would you have it in your
Right.
system in this?
Right.
And this is in no way to tell anybody, you know you have to be raw vegan, and
Right.
you have to eat. This is in no way in in that lane.
Mm-hmm.
This is more so for people to truly understand what it is, the quality of the food that I am putting in my body. Just because I'm a vegetarian, I don't go out there telling all my clients and patients that they need to be vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case here, but it's understanding what quality meats or what certain things are doing to your system and your body, specifically your intestinal permeability. What
Mm-hmm.
is that doing to your gut and your gut lining? And if there's gaps in that gut lining, this stuff is seeping into your bloodstream. And once it seeps into your bloodstream, do you understand that your liver, which is involved in detoxifying your waste, is working a lot harder? So that stuff is staying inside of your system. So if that stuff is staying inside of your system, and you're constantly adding all these foods that we would consider toxic,
Sure.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
some of them which are not even foods,
Yeah.
right? Some of them which are not even real food. We know this. This is
Yes.
not breaking news. People
Right.
know this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the more we keep doing this, our bodies are susceptible to constantly being in chronic pain, having food allergies. And how does that happen, right? If you have a child, I understand if there's working moms out there, and there's single moms out there who do not have the time, or cannot even breastfeed. I get it. There are things that happen. However, if you are able to, then great. You are building that immune system out the gate. But if you are not, then there are some good bacteria and antibodies that are not passing through.
Mm-hmm.
And so from birth now, a child is already starting off with like food sensitivities,
Yeah.
and starting off with all these, right, hypersensitivities to so many different things. And you're like, how did this happen? No, it's not genetic. It's not something that was passed down per se. It's because of what was given and nourished in your system to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about eliminating, because I know when we get into the Trust Your Gut program that we have, it can be a difficult thing for some people to say, wow, I'm used to eating this, and this, but you have to understand the why behind it.
Yes.
Somebody asked me the other day, you haven't had dairy in like 20 plus years. And I said, no, when you have a child, they drink breast milk from a mother. So how does it make sense that I'm drinking cow's milk? And nowadays, there's a lot of GMOs and pesticides and hormones and things that are injected into that, right? And so if you understand the why and what that is doing to your body overall, and how that is affecting your gut, which is your second brain, right? What
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about, because 80% of your immune system is your gut.
Yeah.
And so what is our world dealing with right now? We're dealing with immune issues, right? Because when we're talking about viruses and things like that, now immunity becomes on the forefront. But there's also people out there who already have compromised immune systems that may not even know it, because leaky gut syndrome is not something the Western world is diagnosing on a daily basis, because it's misdiagnosed.
Sure.
It's misdiagnosed under things like joint pain, allergies, asthma, chronic fatigue, lupus, diabetes, ADD, abdominal issues, digestive issues, ulcerative colitis. They're all put in these little separate categories.
Yeah.
So then patients don't realize, because it's easier to be told, hey, this is what's going on with you, and here's the pill and procedure you're going to have to go through, right? Because there's no accountability there. Let's be honest Let's be real, there's no accountability there. But if somebody stops you and says, well, wait a minute, these things are being triggered by what's going on in your gut and what you are putting in your gut.
Sure.
So how would you like to function? And how would that impact your life if you would be willing to eliminate certain foods? And I'm not saying indefinitely, because every person is different. So if you start eliminating certain foods and you really walk a patient through the process of understanding what is their trigger and what is making their said diagnosis even worse, what is causing their brain fog, what is causing their metabolic issues and their immune issues and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And once that patient understands that, they are open and willing to be like, you know what, I'm going to try eliminating X, Y, and Z. And then they experience such a different level of function that they automatically don't even want to go back.
Sure. You said so much. Oh God. But
I'm trying to get as much to you. I don't know how long your talk is, so.
And that's why I have my pen, and I just want to highlight these talking points because I know people have questions about it. Now, tell us about, you said intestinal permeability, because I know some people are like, intestinal what? Me coming from a healthcare industry, I know exactly what intestinal permeability means. So let's talk about what is leaky gut syndrome, because I'm going to tell you from my experience, I do not remember learning anything about leaky gut syndrome. And as a practicing nutritionist at that time, working in long-term care facility, working in schools, working in hospitals, outpatient, environments, WIC centers, I didn't know anything about leaky gut syndrome. That was not a term that I saw in my book. Okay. Right. And so I just want you to explain physiologically, what is that mechanism? What happens? What does that mean? And what is it? So what is leaky gut syndrome?
Okay. So, perfect. Well, we both know why, often you don't hear about it. There's not a good insurance reimbursement for something like this. Let's be honest. Like, hey, you're going to go buy these foods and you're going to avoid these foods. There's no insurance code for that. But no, the leaky gut syndrome is, like I said, a lot of the Western world does. It's underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed, and it's the damage of the lining of your small intestine. So a lot of the times people don't realize your small intestine is going to help you digest, right?
Yes.
Now, what happens is when you have incomplete digestion, meaning you have damaged the lining of your gut, so now that barrier is not as strong. So now what's happening is toxins and bacteria and the waste is leaking through the intestines and it's flooding into the bloodstream. Right? Yes. So now the foreign substances that are entering your blood can cause an autoimmune response in your body, including some of the things that we talked about with like the allergic reactions, the respiratory issues, headaches, skin conditions, joint problems. So leaky gut is exactly that. There is toxins and bacteria leaking in, right, through your intestines and flooding your bloodstream. Yes. And therefore now, everything is heightened. Now, the part of your system, your second brain, 80% of your immune system being in your gut, cannot function at 100%. Yeah. It can't communicate properly to digest everything. So when those substances are leaking out of the intestine, like I said earlier, the liver is forced to work even extra harder to filter out a lot of the stuff out of your bloodstream. And then when it can't handle that burden, there's like this accumulation of fatty liver tissue, Yeah. And so now think about it. So all these bacteria and toxins and things have leaked through your small intestine and in your gut lining. You've compromised it. And then the stuff that you have, the grand design of our body, the stuff that you had that's supposed to help you get rid of the toxins and waste, it's been overworked. It's kind of like, if you're a mom, if you can't take care of yourself, how well are you going to take care of everyone else? Right? Yeah. So the part of your body that's supposed to take care of you, the mommy, is overworked, overburdened, and tired.
Absolutely.
And can't take it anymore.
Yep.
And so if mommy cannot function at 100%, then the rest of the body and the rest of the systems take a default. For some people, like I said, not everybody has the same thing across the board. It's not, hey, you have leaky gut syndrome, so you will have skin issues and you will have joint dysfunction and you will have diabetes. And no, everyone is a little different because every person's body is unique and different depending on what their body's history is, right?
Yeah.
And so the other thing is, when you have an extra amount of sugar, or you have excess drinking or non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, a lot of the over-the-counter, there's a whole slew of medications that also cause this in the process of fixing other issues, right? Or masking the symptoms of other issues. So then that contributes to leaky gut. So there's so many other stressors and factors that are contributing to leaky gut. It's not just, hey, you do this and this is exactly, you know, how you got it. And that's why even when we do the testing for this, there are different tests that we do, because some people might have adrenal fatigue, some people may not. Some people's thyroid might be functioning just fine, but then their stress levels in a different area, you know. So what your food sensitivities might be may not be the same as mine. You know, so it does get undiagnosed, it does get misdiagnosed, and it is ignored in traditional medicine, and that's why you have not heard it. But what ends up happening is you get a large group of people who are frustrated and they're uncomfortable with the symptoms that they have and the answers that they're getting, or the things that they're doing or being told to do is not necessarily working for them, right? And I'll just say this, we'll get into this, I'm sure, about how do you heal that? How do you heal the gut and restore the microbiome? You know, I'm using that analogy of mommy being the gut and the immune system that's taking care of everything, but if it's shut down, the microbiome is the home. The microbiome is the home. And if you are compromising the microbiome, guess what? The microbes in the internal body, it's not going to be a pretty picture, and you're not going to sustain an optimal level of function. So hopefully that helps you. I'm a huge analogy person when it comes, I don't want to get people down a rabbit hole, getting bogged down with the science of it and being like, what?
Exactly. I totally appreciate that, because I think it'll make that concept a lot easier for people to understand. And I know that you mentioned that, you know, it can be expressed in different ways. You know, I may have certain sensitivities that you don't, or certain conditions that you may not, while we're both still, you know, I guess if inflicted or suffering from leaky gut syndrome. But I can just speak to my situation. I was very fatigued, highly fatigued. I also had a thyroid condition. I've had it since 2002 when I came to you, and we've had this discussion. I had, you know, imbalances of yeast. Okay. And as women, that can be expressed in different ways. I won't go into too many details about that, but I'm willing to be, I mean, hey, I'm vulnerable. So you're going to find
it's the raw talk.
It's raw talk, honey. So you understand, my skin, even though people have always said, oh, you have beautiful skin. But my skin, I have dry patches and blotches on my skin. And I was just sharing with you before we started this, it is so smooth. It is so smooth. I would usually have dry patches here and under here. And my skin is so smooth. It's so much more vibrant. And I just attribute that to healing my gut, so that, guess what? The aftercare of that and the maintenance with the foods and the living foods that I'm eating help to maintain my wellness, right? Because I didn't want to go back. I said, I just healed my gut, and I'm going to go back to eating the foods that were destroying my gut. First of all, the investment alone, no way, okay? I love myself way too much to go back, right? And you even had to get my butt in gear, because I'm like, listen, doctor, I'm not starting until after Thanksgiving. Did I say that? Did I say that? You had to get my butt in gear. Are we making this commitment or not? Right?
I remember.
And so, yeah. And so, you know, it could be different for People.
I said, I know I'm not going to have it on my watch, but somebody just invested
Oh my God.
and did not get any results. So
None?
let's get over those reasons and get some results. I remember that conversation.
Yes, ma'am. You got me all the way together. It wasn't that she said it really cute, y'all. It really wasn't even that cute. Okay. The conversation, the conversation was a little bit too raw for even this raw talk right
Yeah.
here. Okay.
It comes from a place of care. Look at where we are now.
I
You've
know.
got your own company and you're now inspiring others and educating others because of your results, you know?
Yeah. I'm just, and that's what, for me, that's really what it's about. I just want to serve, other people, which is why we connected. And, we've had personal conversations. So it's not like, oh, this is my doctor. And no, we've had personal conversations about personal parts of our lives. And to have that connection, I definitely wanted to bring you into this circle and platform to work with people who see me and say, what are you doing? Because it is so beyond. Even though it's a main part, it's so beyond just me being whole foods, plant-based, because if you've been following me, people know I'm not eating animal products anymore. But it's not even about that, right? It's so beyond that. It's a holistic approach. And, I'm careful with the word healing, you know what I'm saying? And restoration, but I just can't find any other ways, right? I'm no longer taking my medication. You know what I'm saying? I'm no longer doing that. And so I'm not saying or promising that anybody can be healed from a certain condition that they have. I make no claims, but I'm saying you owe yourself an opportunity to see if you can have a better life, a life that is functioning at a higher level than what it is now. Because before I got into chiropractic, Dr. Patel, you couldn't tell me about that my life would be any better than the pain that I had been feeling in my lower back. All I thought I was doing, because, of course, I was seeing your husband, Dr. Hines, who is my brother, you know what I'm saying? And we talk all the time. And if somebody didn't come pull us apart, we would probably still be talking. Um, but it was more than just that. He really educated us about how the nervous system it affects the entire body and what we need to do in order to help it to function optimally. That was huge for me. That was the breaking, that was the breaking of the glass ceiling for me. I knew I could go beyond. I'm like, man, I hadn't seen anything beyond that. And so he was really an integral part. And then when I met you, and I'm like, oh man, y'all perfect for each other. When I met you, I think we had a long conversation. I don't know if you remember, but we had a long conversation. And the very first time I met you, and so I was just so opened up to a different perspective around health and wellness outside of the traditional way that I had learned it as, being a nutritionist and practicing in the field. So I just say all that to say, I just thank you for coming at a time when I needed it. And I was making a transition and transforming my life in a great way. Because I think prior to that moment last year, I don't think I would have been able to receive what you have. And some people may be there, everybody, it's not for everyone, but you came when I needed you. And I'm so thankful for that. I'm really thankful. I'm getting emotional, so I'm going to the next question. Okay. Um, but so now we know.
I humbly receive that and know that it's not us. It's genuinely, the inspiration comes from individuals who are, it's a choice that you made. You don't have to make that choice for yourself,
Yeah.
so it's something that you decided to do. It required you to have the discipline to show up for your body and show up for yourself,
Yeah.
to eliminate some of those reasons that, that a lot of us sometimes, can get in the rut of having reasons over results. But you decided that you wanted some results and transformative change. So you got rid of the reasons that were stopping you from doing so.
Yeah.
So I don't take credit for that. I honestly, I'm amazed every time anybody trusts me, not because I'm not qualified, but in the sense of, wow, this is a human being who's literally making a choice, and they're going to be going down a path that they have no idea where they're going to end up at, to what level. And most people, like you said, they don't realize, wow, like where at what space was I functioning at, and why was I okay with that? And then what opens up in the clarity that literally, figuratively, and physiologically the clarity that happens within, because your skin can't be glowing if everything inside is not cleaned out, right?
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. Yes. Um, and so basically, so we know what leaky gut syndrome is. Let's talk a little bit about the program itself.
Sure.
How does it work? If someone is interested, just to give them an idea of what that commitment would look like.
Okay. Um, so let me break it down so I don't lose anybody.
Okay.
Because I'm the type of person, if I'm learning something, it's kind of like, what is it? How does it work? What do I have to do? Right? How much does it cost?
Mm-hmm.
Things like that.
Sure.
The first thing, what is it? So we talked about leaky gut. We talked about, okay, there's stuff that's going and passing into my bloodstream because my the lining of my gut, or my microbiome in my home,
Mm-hmm.
is not where it needs to be. So I'm going to use the analogy of, I don't know if you remember, but when you first presented yourself to me a few years ago with with your interest in wanting to go through this. Now, let me say this, Miss Jones presented herself because she happened to respond to one of our doctors who had lost over 80 pounds in the process. So sometimes we get patients who, it's not just a weight loss thing, it's an overall health thing. And then they discover, wow, there's so many other things. So there is a weight loss protocol and program that has different supplements and what have you, but there's also a different program for those interested in actually really, working with everything inside. Now, it's kind of like rebuilding a house. So if you use the example of rebuilding a house that was once on fire,
Mm-hmm.
when a house is on fire, you're not thinking about calling the carpenters first, right? The
Right.
very first thing that's on your mind is you're going to get in touch with the fire department. So the
Right.
same thing with us. So our house protects our external bodies, just as the microbiome is the house that protects the microbes in our internal body. So there's 3 phases to this program. It's a 10-week program. Now, keep in mind the house analogy, okay? Because this will really help you understand the science aspect, because it is important. It's not just, hey, take this and do this. I really want people to understand why they're taking this and doing this, so then they can do it without us, without me, right? So it's a
Yeah.
lifelong tool. So the first phase of the gut program is going to be 4 weeks. And we call it extinguish and seal. So remember, the house, we're restoring a house that was once on fire, which is our gut lining. So we're going to extinguish and seal. So just as if a home is on fire,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing we need to do is extinguish the flame, and then wet down some of the areas of the house so it'll be harder for the fire to spread. Right? So your body is inflamed. Your body is your house. Your microbiome's inflamed. We need to extinguish it, and then we have to seal it. That's the first phase. So when we extinguish the things that are causing the fires in our gut, it could be possible, you mentioned parasites, candida, food sensitivities. Then we're going to seal any of the gaps that may have developed in our gut lining. So the way we're going to do this is by removing some of those food sensitivities, by implementing an elimination protocol. I don't like the word diet because it has the word die in it.
Yeah.
So we are going to have an elimination lifestyle for 4 weeks, okay?
Okay.
Now, we talk about the elimination diet a little later, usually with our clients once we do the consultation and get into the nitty gritty. So I won't get into all of that right now,
Okay.
but it'll help you understand why you have certain food sensitivities and intolerances that you need to get under control. And the things that we must extinguish in the body are going to block, they'll block the nutrient absorption, right? So that's why in our program, we focus on removing what's robbing the nutrient absorption first,
Mm-hmm.
and then begin to seal the gut before we detox and clear the debris. So think about that for a second. A lot of the times people don't realize, okay, well, what's the big deal if there's gaps in my intestine and things are going in my bloodstream, I don't feel it, whatever. Well, what's happening is, even if you are a vegan or you were eating really well and you've decided to make some changes, but then your gut has been compromised, you're not absorbing the nutrients. the small intestine's job is to absorb the nutrients from the foods that you're eating. So even if you make a transition, you've already damaged that gut lining, that it's not even benefiting from, you know, the latest trend of whatever you've gotten into. That's making you feel miserable in the beginning, right?
Right.
And that takes me into the second phase eventually. So when you get back to our burning house example, after the fire is extinguished and the area is sealed, we call upon help. And this help is going to come from phase two. Phase two is going to be about 2 weeks. And that's where we need to clear the debris from the fire scene, right? We've already extinguished and sealed. Now we need to clear the debris in the fire. So in the second phase, we want to restore the gut health and clearing the debris. So we do this by using different formulations of antioxidants, minerals, and nutrients that are designed to support a healthy response to environmental toxins, especially heavy metal toxicity. So a lot of patients will say, well, I'm doing this detox, or I'm going to do this program or that. Now, the problem with that is, I'm not saying they're bad, but they're not as effective because nobody has extinguished and sealed. And then with the detox programs, sometimes the binding agents, there has to be very specific binding agents for the heavy metal toxicity that we tend to have in our bodies, not just from the nitrites from meat and from pollution and other things that we're ingesting. So we want to make sure that we detox any of the invasions that can further damage the gut, right?
Yes.
So hopefully you're still following along with me. The first phase, extinguish and seal, 4 weeks, right? The second phase, 2 weeks, clear the debris. So now that we've extinguished what was blocking the nutrient absorption and we've sealed the gut lining and we've cleared the debris from the aftermath and the detox phase, phase 2, now it's time to call the carpenters. So now we need to call the carpenters to rebuild our house, our microbiome. And we call that phase 3. That's the rebuilding phase, literally the rebuilding phase. Now the carpenters that we're going to call in are beneficial bacteria. These are extensively studied, Bifidobacterium lactis, HBNO 19 for my nerds out there. But then we want to balance it for adequate absorption of the proteins, calciums, B vitamins, iron. Now, the formulas and things that we're using are all herbal, they're all natural, but they're providing what we call polypeptides, also known as PRPs. Now, this helps the immune system by supporting the IgG antibodies, which help modulate a normal immune response. So if I'm getting a little too science on you, that third phase of rebuilding now our house, because we've gotten rid of the fire, we've sealed everything, we've detoxified everything, cleared the debris, and now we're calling the carpenters to now rebuild, reintroducing some of those foods that we may have eliminated.
Sure.
And people who cannot handle them will have a response within 3 hours. And they will know, maybe I can check again 3 months from now if I can have this. And most people will know, I can't, right? And they'll know, I can handle this, I can't handle that. And now they have something that's lifelong that they can carry with them. And each one of these phases, and it depends, everyone's a little different. Not everybody needs everything under the sun. It just depends on what your evaluation, like Ms. Shamika mentioned, whether somebody has thyroid issues or they have gut issues or joint issues. It might be a little different for some people, but each phase has different supplements that are associated with it. These are not things that you need to take for the rest of your life. They are all 100% natural and organic and herbal. However, it's to get you that jump start. Like Ms. Jones said, why would I want to go back? If I invested all this time, I went through this process, the time, the money, and the everything.
Yeah.
Why would you even want to go back? And we've had patients that have, waited on getting their supplements because they had to piecemeal things for whatever reasons, which we're open to working with people if they had to do that. However, if for those individuals that waited, I said, look, don't lose hope, because they've gotten results, not just with losing weight, but they've gotten different blood results. They've gotten, oh my God, I just got my results for my thyroid, my T. H levels, my this level, my that. I had one woman who did a stool sample before she even started the program, and that wasn't even required because it can be pricey to get those tests done.
Sure.
And so we're not requiring you to do all these. You can if you want. And then she had me look at her stool sample results at the end of the program. So she literally got to see what parasites, candida, bacteria, and stuff that was removed, literally, as opposed to just the overall function and feeling.
Sure.
But we're not saying you have to do that. There are other more cost-effective ways to do the program and to do that. You know, hopefully that kind of makes sense, but it is 3 phases, and it does come out to be, you know, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, and another, it's about 10 weeks total in the process. And then after that, you are equipped. You are more than equipped with what you know you need to do in order for you to function at a higher level. So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that breakdown. And I definitely appreciate you going through that so people kind of know what they will be getting into from that standpoint. And I'm not sure whether or not you want to go into cost or anything like that. I kind of wanted to reserve. I don't know if you want to do that now or.
So a couple of things. Well, we've never, I can honestly say we've never had to turn anyone away for cost issues. That doesn't mean, you know, we have been open and willing to work with people in different situations. That does not mean it's free 99. However, compared to a lot of the programs and different things that are out there, look, I tell people all the time, it's kind of like, if what you're doing is working for you, if you're paying a copay and your insurance is providing you with the medications and the treatments that are working for you, then by all means go that way. And I'm not just trying to say that. I mean, literally, pharmacology, toxicology, surgery, the things that your insurance is paying for, if you feel like that is contributing to your healthcare, then by all means. But if you feel like it is contributing to a sick care mentality, then, and you are seeking for an alternative route, unfortunately, a lot of practitioners who practice under complementary and alternative medicine do not get reimbursements from insurance and things like that. Okay. So we do keep in mind that we're working with a demographic of people that are used to paying $30 or $40 copays. But then you also have to understand, is somebody sitting down and breaking down and giving you accountability? Are you getting the results that you are looking for? Or are you just being left with more side effects and a diagnosis that's still there and that's not getting any better or getting worse, or you're sustaining it? So it does come back ultimately to you. And if you are deciding to put yourself first and invest in yourself, it's not going to break the bank or anything by any means. We do have a nonprofit that we started about a little over 4 or 5 years ago that allows me to do, you know, take part in talks like these, along with doing other talks and lectures in the community to educate people on the options that are not going to be found on a billboard or a commercial. You know, I hate to say it, but they're not going to be promoted. So with that being said, anybody who is absolutely serious and they are ready, that is usually the demographic that I end up seeing. And cost has never really been problematic. And then because we do things through our nonprofit, we are able to waive the cost for, you can get a free consultation. You know, you can get an absolutely free consultation and see if you're even a candidate. That's the first thing. Are you even a candidate for this? Maybe you're a candidate, but you're not serious and willing. Then I don't want to have somebody in my books that doesn't get results, right? Because they have a bunch of reasons. And then some people, it may be not now. They want to see their spouse get the results before they get results, or whatever have you. I've seen that. And or some people work together as a team. I've had a lot of patients who have come from the different areas that I've been blessed to practice, from Illinois to Georgia to Florida, and then places that I'd never even practiced, but they were referred to us. So if you are serious, if you are genuinely serious about not wasting your time, and certainly not wasting ours, then your investment will definitely be well worth it. And we do have options that help people make it manageable. And I believe for all of our talks and things, so for you, for example, for this talk and the launch of your company, we do have the hashtag Jones20. So anybody who contacts us with hashtag Jones20 can apply that and get 20% before the month's end. So I think that's about 2 weeks or so. So
Yeah.
you'll be able to use that within 2 weeks before. So we do work with people and try to keep it equal and fair exchange. To be quite honest, I think it's more than equal and fair exchange. I can honestly say that myself and the other doctors that work with us in this program are genuinely invested because we're practicing what we preach. And so it is a very personal thing, even though we're not in person for the process. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can say just from my standpoint, I felt supported throughout the entire process. And I think, it does, your level of readiness does determine, how engaged and involved you are in the process. I wanted nothing more than to be healthy. That's what I want. I challenged myself in that last year. And so, because someone asked me, what's the one thing you wanted this year in 2019? And I said, I don't care about anything else. I want my health, because what I do know is that once you lose it, you will do everything in your power to get it back if that's what you really want to do. Because I wasn't accepting sickness as my destiny. I knew wellness and healing and health was in my destiny. I knew that family medical history was not my story. And I knew that I could write and tell a different story for the next generation who's watching me. And so I think because I came with that mindset, I could have called you every day if I needed to. I could have texted you every day, but every day I knew that I was healing my body, and I really didn't need anybody else to tell me to do what I needed to do. I was willing to do it because that's where I was in my life. And so I just think when people are there, this won't be a problem at all. And this conversation is happening at a crucial time because everyone has been impacted and affected by COVID-19. Almost anybody I speak to, they either know someone who's passed away from the virus directly or affected indirectly, at some point or in some way. And so I believe that we can really change it because I believe I've prepared my body. If I were, because I believe we've all kind of been exposed. You don't know where you've been and who's had it or whatever the case may be. But even if I were to test positive, I believe my body is prepared to fight it because of the things that I've been doing mentally and also physically to support battling it, healing my gut and making sure that everything that I eat has a bioavailability, a high bioavailability, or the ability for it to be absorbed and utilized properly in my body. So I'm just so thankful. I just wanted to add that, as a footnote to what you had to say. And just kind of wrapping this up, do you feel that you're drawn to a certain demographic or community? And if so, can you kind of explain, why or something like that?
That's an interesting question. I think my answer would probably be a little different depending on what phase I was in my career. I think earlier on, in my mid to late 20s, I had a supervising doctor that even told me, he's like, man, I can see you're just gonna have so many women in your practice and women's health, specifically minority women's health issues and things like that. Because of the relatability and also just different access, especially in holistic care. Oftentimes you see Whole Foods in certain neighborhoods, and you see liquor stores in others.
Sure.
Junk foods and not an access to good produce or quality foods and things like that.
Sure.
And I find that to be extremely problematic, right? And so there is a different level of empathy that goes into that, and also understanding lack of resources and things like that, but we can change that. And I keep saying by a choice. So earlier on in my career, I can honestly say probably women between ages 25 to 65, minority women. And then as I progressed further along and I ended up taking different roles, whether it was starting a nonprofit and being able to educate other all sorts of demographics from the, I don't like to use the word old, I like to use the word seasoned, from the seasoned folks to becoming a mother and then having babies. I used to joke that my favorite people to adjust, and I still do sometimes, I say, look, my favorite people to see are babies, pregnant moms, because I can be their best friend in the sense that they're, they get to go face down at certain parts in their pregnancy, if they're trimester, which they can't really do anywhere else. Then we have like the equipment to put them face down and do stuff with them, and it's always fun. And then people who have never, ever gone and had seen a wellness care physician,
Yeah.
which can be a large group of the population, seeing as only 9 to 11% of the population even utilizes our services, which are really broad. And so now, transitioning from the 20s to the 30s, to which will be my late 30s soon, I would say I am just so open and willing to work with anyone who is ready for a change. So if you have a gut, if you have a gut and you are serious,
Yeah.
and you are looking and you're frustrated and you're not getting the answers and the results that you're looking for, I'm willing to meet those people halfway, because it inspires me in the process to keep going. Because we've been doing the telemedicine thing for several years now, as we transition into the virtual space. And this was way before everything happened, so it's been a very unique way. I am a people person, so there is certain aspects where there are certain demographics that obviously I see in person, and then with the enteric nervous system and gut rehab, I don't need to see you in person every day, but I do get to be part of your journey, and your accountability partner, along with the other things that we provide for you in this program, because it's beyond it can't get any more simplistic. We've broken it down and made it so simple for patients, down to the shopping list. And when all of this happened, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, all of our clients are going to love the fact that they have a shopping list of all the best nutrient foods that they, their do's and their no-nos, right? So they knew exactly what they could be grabbing and doing. So breaking it down to that, to emails, to recipes, to people who just want new ways to cook with the foods that they're allowed to eat in the process during the first 4 weeks of the phase one. So it's interesting. Some people don't need those. Some people just start getting experimental with the stuff that they know that they can use. So anybody who has a gut and is open and willing and ready, and serious, they're genuinely serious, and they want to have some lifelong tools that they can take with them. Because as much as I love my patients, the biggest compliment is what you're doing right now. Somebody who continues moving forward.
Absolutely. And thank you. I appreciate that. And I just wanted people to know I was actually one of those people. I saw there was so many resources, like you are going to feel supported along the way. But because I'm just like a creative, and when I get in the kitchen, it's just like, oh, I can make this, I can make that. And because of my background, I just kind of knew how to plan for myself. And so because part of with Eat Life to Live Life, I do provide meal planning, menu planning. If you all need any of those services, if you do go with the Leaky Gut or the Trust Your Gut program, I can definitely be of service to you to help you plan that out, and even your aftercare, knowing what that would look like as you continue how to maintain. And so again, when you do contact, and Dr. Jasmina is going to tell us how we can get connected with her. And when you do, if you're interested, you can use my discount code #Jones20. That's #Jones20. And so Dr. Jasmina, just tell the people how they can get connected with you.
Very easy. We are very personal. So if you email gut doctors, doctors spelled out, gutdoctors@gmail, and just say, hey, how you heard about us. So in this case, the Raw Talk, and like Miss Jones said, hashtag Jones20, we will communicate with you within 24 hours. So gutdoctors@gmail.com, and that's doctors spelled out.
Okay. Gutdoctors@gmail.com. If someone who's watching, if you guys can type that in for me, I would truly appreciate that. But
Yeah, we
gutdoctors@gmail.com.
are updating our virtual space and our
Okay.
virtual clinic. So
Mhm.
I will provide that to Miss Jones as soon as we get the green light that that's been updated. But for now, yeah, gutdoctors@gmail.com is perfectly fine for you to hear back from us.
Okay, awesome. And so as you were speaking, I was just kind of looking through some of the comments, and we have some questions, and we really didn't, Lauren Spraggin says, what do you recommend as the first step towards a vegan life without going without withdrawal?
Mm.
Um, she says that she understands habits can be changed in 30 days, but she's just curious. We really didn't talk about necessarily transitioning to a vegan lifestyle or needing to do that afterwards. It would be favorable to support what you would have done in the Trust Your Gut program. But for me, and Dr. Jasmine is a vegetarian, I'm a whole foods plant-based or vegan, I would just say that knowing why you want to do it. um, why do you want to go vegan? Because now it's so trendy, it's so popular, everyone's talking about it. Manufacturers are accommodating the marketplace right now. So to me, in my mind, oh, it looks cute for people, right? But knowing why you want to do it, and then looking at your current dietary lifestyle to see, well, what are you doing that's whole foods plant-based right now? Taking an inventory of that. And then that's when we begin, because I'm a fan of the addition method, right? Adding certain foods to your diet and replacing, right? So let's just say, you are a heavy meat eater, you eat meat at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, let's just say we want to replace, the whatever kind of meat you would eat at breakfast with a vegan cheese or a whole foods plant-based cheese, which it's still a packaged food, but sometimes transitioning those things are easy to conceptualize, right, in our eating plans and our eating lifestyles. Or just drinking more water, maybe switching to alkaline water. You don't drink as much water. I mean, all of that stuff just kind of helps to transition you into it. Now, if you're someone who's cold turkey, I would just say, well, stop eating animal products and you'll be fine. And if you need a plan, then I can help create a menu plan for you so that you don't feel lost in the process and actually know that you have abundance of foods that are available for you to eat, and you can be so creative doing it. So did you want to add to that, Dr. Jasmina?
Sure. I think this is a common question that I get with a lot of people who either not just vegan, but if they're I'm doing such and such detox, and I'm doing X, Y, and Z, um, or I'm doing such and such cleanse, right? So a lot of the time you'll hear um, all these trendy cleanses and detoxes and things. Now, the main purpose of a cleanse is to clean out your digestive tract,
Mm-hmm.
right? Including the colon,
Sure.
from undigested food particles, toxins, parasites, things like that. Now, a cleanse is often a gentler way of releasing toxins that are adopted by a more simpler diet for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a true cleanse is going to aim to provide nourishment for your body, but by providing food in the form of a complete protein. Now, we can stabilize our blood sugar levels and allow ourselves to enter a state of deep cleansing and healing. So I'm not opposed to cleanses and detoxes. What I do find problematic, though, is the results are very short-lived. Same thing with when you talk about veganism, right? I'll use myself as an example. I was raw vegan for 4 months. It was great, but I'll be honest, I was fortunate enough to have a chef that was preparing all those meals. I was not doing it.
Gotcha.
I was very busy serving patients and whatever have you, and so I was able to sustain it. But would
Yeah.
I be able to sustain it if I didn't have somebody who was preparing these meals for me? Most definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really costly either. It literally came out equivalent to what I would have spent on groceries,
Mm-hmm.
truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same token, I knew that that wasn't something I could sustain. And I was doing raw. So nothing cooked, everything, nothing warm. You know, there's only certain temperatures that are approved. And so from that, I knew that that wasn't the lifestyle choice for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that can cause, even though it gets great results, it becomes short-lived.
Mm-hmm.
There is also a great site called Evolving Vegan, which is a very non-judgmental evolving vegan, which allows people to not be judged for like, well, that's not this and that's not, you see that a lot with those of us who choose to go, plant-based. Now you see people talking about keto and all of this stuff. So regardless, whether you are vegan, you are keto, cleanse, detox, this and that, I'm telling you, raw and real, none of it matters if you do not have a good binding agent that has gotten rid of all the heavy metal toxicity in your body. Remember, we talked about this earlier on. If your gut lining has already been compromised, even with you being raw vegan, the fact that you are crashing is a perfect litmus test of the fact that you're not absorbing the nutrients to the fullest.
Yep. Yeah.
So when Ms. Shamika says, the maintenance afterwards, so imagine you actually clean everything out, you get to the place, and now if you're still choosing to be vegan, it's going to feel totally different. It's going to be a sustainable difference for you as opposed to an up and down roller coaster. Because we also know there are a lot of people who are plant-based or vegan who recognize that the soy is wreaking havoc on your gut as well. There are a lot of soy-based products for vegetarians, vegans, and stuff that are being consumed that are actually doing more damage than they are doing good.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I question even some of the, it was 2 years ago, I was at a restaurant with my husband, and we had this gourmet Impossible Burger that nobody had heard about yet that cost like $20 or something. And then literally I get sent this article, and my husband goes, look at this article. And it was an article of their merger with Burger King to provide the Impossible Burger for like $5.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it. I don't know if it's the same quality or what's in it, what's going on, but I am one of those people that gets a little like, is this something that might be good? That's not something, hey, I'm raw vegan, I'm going to be eating this for lunch every other day. Yeah. No, you're still doing something that's going to upset the equilibrium and the homeostasis of your microbiome. And you're walking around saying I'm vegetarian, or you could be a carbitarian being a vegetarian, let me tell you. So there's a difference.
Yeah.
So when you have those clashes, when you do cleanses, detoxes, vegan, whatever have you, that's a litmus test. That's your body letting you know that, hey, you're not absorbing the nutrients from this. It's just like when I would tell patients who work out and do yoga, you're doing those things on a spine that's not well adjusted. How are you benefiting from those amazing things that you're doing? So I'm not telling you to stop doing those things. I'm just saying, question, am I getting the benefit to the fullest?
Yeah. Good point. Awesome. So thank you for that. We are going to wrap up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much to Dr. Jasmina Patel for this raw talk on, trusting your gut and the leaky gut program and healing your gut and all of that goodness. Please reach out to her if you have any questions, and she's provided her information. You guys can watch the replay or scroll back once we end this broadcast. Again, I want to thank you and welcome you to this platform at Eat Life to Live Life. And it is a collaborative effort. And I just want to make sure that people are able to live their best, healthy, and wealthy lives. All right. So thank you again. Up next, we have another Raw Talk coming on Friday, and we're going to talk to ourselves on that day. But I just want to thank you so much, Dr. Jasmina, for your time. I know you're a busy woman. And I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful that you were able to share this information with our community. So having
Well,
said that,
thank you so much for what you're doing. What you're doing definitely helps in our space as well. So what you're doing with your background and your platform is definitely helping on another level to, raise awareness for those individuals that are genuinely looking forward to changes in a more natural space for their health and healing. I think you are a perfect candidate for somebody. Oftentimes I tell people, look, don't listen to me, listen to somebody who's already done it or somebody who can relate to you, and what have you. And so it's a perfect testimony and a testament to all the things that you've incorporated in your life. So I wish you nothing but the best, and I'm sure we'll stay in touch. I will provide you at the end of this call, I can provide you with a link for a free webinar
okay.
for your network if they're interested, and I'll send you that link. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you guys. I will see you at the next Raw Talk on Friday at noon. So stay tuned for all the information that's coming out for that, and have a good one. I'll see you in the next Raw Talk. Bye.